I spotted him struggling with the wheelchair ramp just as I was rushing toward my car. The morning sun reflected off the wet pavement, and for a moment I hesitated, torn between being on time and helping someone who clearly needed it. The old man didn't ask for help, he simply braced against the incline, but the weight of his effort, the slight tremor in his hands, made it impossible to ignore. I stepped forward, offering my arm and adjusting the blanket over his knees. He accepted the gesture with a quiet nod, neither flinching nor speaking. When he learned I was headed to the law firm, he asked if he could come along. I hesitated. My sister's presence there was already a stress I hadn't anticipated, and I didn't want complications. Yet something about the old man, calm, measured, unassuming, made the decision feel inevitable. I guided him into the car, sliding the wheelchair into the trunk, feeling a subtle shift in my own consciousness. I was doing something I couldn't take back, and it mattered, even if the rest of the world didn't notice. The drive was quiet. The hum of tires on asphalt and the occasional city noise outside were the only sounds. I found my thoughts drifting to my sister, her sarcasm, her knack for diminishing others, her ability to make me feel small with a single glance. A part of me wondered if she would mock the old man, if her contempt was boundless, or if he could somehow absorb it without flinching. The old man's silence was strangely reassuring, almost like he was assessing the world at his own pace, unconcerned with its judgments. We arrived at the law firm. I opened the door for him, and he rolled inside with surprising ease. My sister noticed immediately. She laughed at the sight of him, sharp and cutting like knives thrown carelessly. "Who brought Grandpa to the office?" she said, her voice loud enough to draw attention. The old man didn't respond at first. He simply adjusted his glasses, his fingers steady despite the tremor I had seen outside. Then he spoke, just a few words, a quiet declaration of his professional role, one I hadn't fully realized until that moment. The room seemed to pause. My sister's laughter died in her throat. Her face paled, her lips pressed into a thin line, and the mockery she had wielded so casually dissolved into something else entirely. Fear. The power shift was immediate and unmistakable. She, who had always felt untouchable in her cruelty, now shrank in the presence of authority she hadn't anticipated. I watched silently, my own emotions complex and layered. There was satisfaction, yes, but it was tempered by restraint. I was learning the weight of quiet alliances, of loyalty that did not demand spectacle. The old man's presence alone had altered the landscape of power in the room. I felt the subtle pride of someone finally underestimated, finally seen, but without the need to gloat. During the meeting, he supported my claims without theatrics, a nod here, a carefully chosen word there. He didn't dominate the discussion, yet the impact was undeniable. The sister, once so brash, retreated further into the background, her every expression betraying her disbelief and discomfort. Silence became the instrument of control, not shouting or posturing. When it was over, I helped him back into the car. The old man's movements were slow but deliberate, his dignity intact. We didn't speak much, only enough for practicality. Outside, he gave a faint smile, one that carried respect and a quiet acknowledgement of shared understanding. I realized then that loyalty and authority could exist in forms far subtler than confrontation. Driving away, I reflected on what had happened. The sister's reaction, the old man's calm intervention, my own role, all intertwined into a single lesson on power, respect, and restraint. I didn't feel triumphant in the way I had once imagined victory. Instead, there was a quiet satisfaction, a subtle sense that the world had momentarily realigned itself, that dignity and loyalty could exist without spectacle, without revenge, without exaggeration. The emotional residue stayed with me. I understood that relationships would not be the same, that tension remained unresolved, and that my own perception of leverage and human connection had shifted. The old man rolled toward the street corner, disappearing into the morning crowd. I watched him go, letting the moment linger, knowing that some victories are silent, some alliances unspoken, and some lessons only truly understood in the quiet after the event.